Hi, hello, welcome to my channel if you're new. In this video, I am going to try and say good night, good night, good night, good night in no less than 30 different languages. I noticed that you appreciated the last video I made in this fashion, in which I spoke about 8 different languages, or attempted to speak 8 different languages, and I said that if you commented your language below, I would try and speak it in the next video, which is why I am making this video now. If your language was not spoken in this video, feel free to comment, and next time I will do it. So let's try, let's start, let's do it. Now forgive me, I have my phone in my hand because I have written down all the different ways to say goodbye in a very specific order. Most of the languages I'm gonna speak I'm actually not familiar with, so yeah, this is what I have my phone right here. And what did I wanted to say? Yes, I kind of classified the languages by branches, family, because I thought it would be interesting for you to compare how they sound like, because sometimes you ask me how I learn languages and how come I'm so gifted with languages, which I don't personally think I really am. But the thing is, what the trick is, that it's way easier to learn languages that are within the same branch or within the same family. So I want you to hear the resemblances between these languages. So I'm gonna start with the category I'm most familiar with, which is the Romance languages. I have written down 4 languages, 4 of the most spoken Romance languages, which are, of course, evolutions of Vulgar Latin, which is why they kind of sound similar. See, some people will tell you that it's easy to learn Spanish when you already speak Italian, and vice versa, and that French is similar to Italian, and that Portuguese sounds similar to Spanish. It's because they're all Romance languages. So let's start with number 1, because it's the most spoken Romance language, Spanish. I suppose this is not a surprise. So to say goodbye in Spanish, you say buenas noches, buenas noches, buenas noches, buenas noches, buenas noches, buenas noches. The second language is French. Now, to say goodnight in French, you say bonne nuit, 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 fais de beaux rêves, bonne nuit. The third language I wrote down is Italian. Buonanotte, 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 buonanotte. And the last one I wrote is a language I'm absolutely not familiar with, so I apologize in advance for my poor pronunciation. The 4th language is Romanian. So to say goodnight in Romanian, you say noapte bună, 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 noapte bună. I hope that wasn't too painful for your Romanian ears. Now, next up, I wrote down a few Germanic languages. Now, we'll start with the West Germanic languages, because I classified them, because obviously not all Germanic languages are similar. They kind of are similar, but not really. So we start with the West Germanic languages, which include English, German, and Dutch. Now, English is easy. Good night, good night, good night, good night. night, good night, good night, good night, good night, sweet dreams, good night. And then we have German. Now German is pretty close to English actually. Gute Nacht, 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 gute Nacht. And well, Dutch, which again I'm not familiar with. So let me look it up. Dutch goodnight is Goedenacht, 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 Goedenacht. I was actually about to say Goedenacht, but the G is soft. Goedenacht, Goedenacht. Now, let's move on to the North Germanic languages. And you're gonna tell me, what about the East Germanic languages? Well, they're gone. They don't exist anymore, so we can forget about them. We are gonna pursue with the North Germanic languages, which are Danish, Swedish, Norwegian, and Icelandic. I'm gonna start with Danish, Swedish, and Norwegian. Now these three are pretty similar, so I have to be careful. Danish goodnight is godnat, 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 godnat. And Swedish goodnight is godnatt, 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 godnatt. And Norwegian is two words, not one, unlike Swedish and Danish, and it is godnatt, 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 godnatt. So Danish was godnatt, Swedish was godnatt, and Norwegian was godnatt, godnatt. They're really similar, so it's a bit complicated. And the very last one I wrote was Icelandic. Now in Icelandic, that was really hard to find actually. I believe it is pronounced golanot, 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 golanot. So I think we are up to, let me check, 10 languages, 10. Now, let's continue with Slavic languages. Not my favorite because they're so difficult to pronounce. So, I will start with the East Slavic languages, which you recognize because they use the Cyrillic alphabet, Cyrillic script. And the ones that have the largest number of speakers, obviously, I'm sure you can guess it, are Russian and I think, yes, Ukrainian. So, Russian and Ukrainian. Sorry, I was waiting for that card to pass. Now, you're gonna notice that Russian and Ukrainian have similar sounds. So, good night in Russian would be Доброй ночи, доброй ночи, доброй ночи, доброй ночи, доброй ночи. And in Ukrainian it would be Na добра ніч, на 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 добра ніч. I am very sorry for my pronunciation. I'm sure that was quite off, but you get the general idea. Now we'll continue with the West Slavic languages for language 13, 14, and 15. Almost the middle of the video. So, number 13 will be Polish, number 14 will be Slovak, and number 15 will be Czech. So, Polish goodnight will be Dobranoc, 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 Dobranoc. Now, Slovak goodnight would be Dobru noc, Dobru noc, Dobru noc, Dobru noc, Dobru noc, pretty similar. And Czech, good night, which was requested by many of you, is probably the hardest of them all. I think it is Dobrou noc, Dobrou noc, Dobrou noc, Dobrou noc, Dobrou noc, Dobrou noc, Dobrou noc. So, I mean, they're pretty similar. I mean, between Dobra noc, Dobrou noc, and Dobrou noc. It's almost the same, but it's not. But it's you know, it's like the Romance languages sound a lot like each other. It's pretty much the same for the Slavic languages, especially the West Slavic languages. Now we're up to 15 more to go. We're gonna go on with the South Slavic languages, which are mainly spoken in the Balkans. I wrote down Serbian and Bulgarian. Now, this is pretty hard, but I'm gonna try. Serbian goodnight is laku noć, laku noć, laku noć, laku noć, laku noć. And Bulgarian goodnight, which was pretty hard to find too, is leka noć, leka noć, leka noć, leka noć, leka noć, leka noć, leka noć. So between laku noć and leka noć, there is a very tiny difference to me, to my ears, but I'm sure it sounds very different to actual speakers of the language. Now, we change sides of the word and we go east to the Sino-Tibetan languages. So these languages are very different to the ones I intended to speak earlier. They're not Indo-European, but Sino-Tibetan are the second to Indo-European in number of native speakers. Why? Because one of them is Chinese, of course. So I'm going to start with goodnight in Chinese, and this I know because I lived in China, so that should be okay, even though my pronunciation is still not perfect. 晚安, 晚安, 晚安. This is goodnight in Chinese. 晚安, 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 晚安. Now, 晚安Chinese was 18. We'll move on to Austroasiatic languages. Now, the classification of languages is going to be quite difficult from now on. Before it was pretty easy, you know, Slavic, Romance, Germanic, but I feel like elsewhere in the word is more complicated. So I will start with Vietnamese, which is an Austroasiatic language, and then I'll go on with Japanese. They absolutely do not sound like each other, but Japanese is kind of hard to classify. It was heavily influenced by Chinese, but you will see, well, at least in that expression, you cannot feel the Chinese influence by sound. So Vietnamese and Japanese. So as you know, I'm half Vietnamese, but my Vietnamese, let's just say, no. So sorry in advance. So good night in Vietnamese is chúc ngủ ngon, 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 chúc ngủ ngon. And in Japanese, I wrote that down. In Japanese, it's oyasumi nasai. Apparently, oyasumi nasai, oyasumi nasai. Good night in Japanese. Oyasumi nasai, oyasumi nasai, oyasumi nasai, oyasumi nasai. Now, moving on to East Asian languages. I'm gonna start with Korean, which is also a language that is that you can really attach to other languages, just as Japanese. So Korean, there is a link with Japanese, which is currently debated by linguists, so it's kind of hard to determine if they come from the same root, basically. Lucy explained. What is for sure is that Japanese did influence Korean during the occupation, which lasted decades, and that influenced a lot the language, but not good night. Good night. So the formal way to say good night is 안녕히 주무세요. 안녕히 주무세요. 안녕히 주무세요. But I feel like no one says that, so I'll just say 자자, 자자요, 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 which is sleep well. 자자요, 자자, 자자요, 자자요. Now moving on to Austronesian languages, which are spoken in South Asia, Madagascar Islands, and the Pacific Ocean. And this is gonna get really hard. I wrote down Malay because that was requested, Tagalog or Filipino because it was requested as well many times actually, and Hawaiian. So Malay. In Malay, I believe, and I'm so sorry if this comes out terrible, I believe that good night is Selamat malam, Selamat malam, Selamat malam, Selamat malam, Selamat malam, good night, Selamat malam, Selamat malam, Selamat malam. In Tagalog, which was really hard, I think it is Magandang gabi. Magandang gabi. And I think you're supposed to add po if you want to say it in a polite way, in a formal way. It's kind of like the yo in Korean, I guess. So Magandang gabi. Magandang gabi. Magandang gabi. Magandang gabi. Magandang gabi po. Magandang gabi po. Magandang gabi po. And the last one, which was Hawaiian. Hawaiian. Even that is hard to say for me, which I think is really cute. Is aloha ahi ahi. 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 Now, moving on to Turkic languages. Actually, there are at least 35 documented Turkic languages, and Turkish is the most widely spoken of them all, of course. Now, goodnight in Turkish is extremely difficult for me to say, but I'm gonna try. I think it is. I'm looking at my phone right now. I think it is iyi geceler, 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 iyi geceler. But I think it's easier to say güle güle, which I think means bye bye. Next up, we have the Kradai languages, which are tonal languages. That means they have different tones, like Vietnamese, like Chinese, but we're actually talking about Asia languages that are spoken in East Asia, Northeast India, and Southern China. So I picked Thai and Lao. Now I am well aware that I've picked really, really difficult languages to speak. I went to Thailand once for visa purposes. I needed to get my Australian visa renewed, so I had to leave the country, so I decided to go to Thailand for a few weeks, and I did not learn a lot of Thai when I was there, although a lot of people thought I was half Thai. So I think that, oh, and right, that was funny. I realized that it sounded a little bit like Chinese. Remember, Chinese goodnight is wa'an, wa'an. And let me check. Thai goodnight in Thai is fan ti naka, I think it's Sweet Dream, and I thought that the one that sounded like Chinese was Fa Wa Naka, Fa Wa Naka, Fa Wa Naka. You remember? Wa An, Fa Wa Naka. But maybe it has nothing to do with each other, but I just thought of that. And so Fa Ti Naka, Fa Wa Naka. And then we have Lao. Lao was so hard. Okay, so I had to check that another time because it's really hard. So in Lao, good night is, I'm so sorry in advance. สบายดีตอกลางคืนสบายดีตอกลางคืนสบายดีตอกลางคืนสบายดีตอกลางคืนสบายดีตอกลางคืนสบายดีตอกลางคืนสบายดีตอกลางคืน I'm not great with tonal languages. I'm not great with them. We're almost done. We're up to 27. And now I'm going to talk about Indic languages, which are the languages spoken in India, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, Pakistan. There are about 220, more than 200 languages. But I'm just going to try Hindi because it was requested many times, several times as well, Hindi. So this is really hard, but I'm gonna try. This was really hard to find too. In Hindi, I believe that good night is Shubhratri, 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 Shubhratri. And we're almost at the end. Now, to Afro-Asiatic languages or Semitic languages, which are like languages that originated in the Middle East, Northern Africa, and spoken in, Western Asia, Northern Africa, and the Middle East. And I chose Arabic and Hebrew because they were requested as well. So, very, very hard. In Arabic, I believe there are two ways to say goodnight because, there are many ways, but you will say it differently whether you're talking to a man or whether you're talking to a man or a woman. So if you're talking to a man, you will say Tusbah ala khair, Tusbah ala khair, Tusbah ala khair. And to a woman, I believe you will say Tusbahin ala khair, 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 Tusbah ala khair. So hard. And the last one, which is Hebrew, which is a bit easier, I think, is Layla Tov, Layla Tov, Layla Tov, Layla Tov, Layla Tov. Good night, Layla Tov. Done. 30 languages, if I counted well. I hope I did. So, thank you so much for watching this video. This was truly hard to make, but so interesting, and I learned so many things. So if you want me to do more languages videos, let me know. Let me know if I butchered your language. I'm really sorry for that. And thank you, and goodbye, 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 goodbye. See you soon. Don't hesitate to like this video, comment, subscribe. You know what to do. So good night. I'm not gonna do it in 30 languages again.